Get on next week. I might be able to get on next week sometime when I'm in. Hey, what do you guys think? Will James Harden appear in a commercial at the Super Bowl? Yes, minus 200. No, plus 155.
You have a serious problem.
I would say yes.
I know. I'm not betting on any of these.
All
You
right.
can bet on if a player will do the Dirty Bird touchdown celebration. Absolutely.
Not without getting called on a penalty.
All right. Sweet.
All right.
My voice therapist says it's bad to clear your throat. You should swallow instead and drink water.
I'm glad they're helping the sake of our success.
All right. 5, 4, train.
Meet Virginia.
Can y'all hear it?
Can't wait to meet Virginia. Yeah. I thought we were singing Train. Are we not?
No, can
singing,
y'all hear it?
are we not singing Train? I thought
No, can you hear train?
a train to meet Virginia.
Can y'all hear the train?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
I wanted to do I wanted to sing Train.
Oh shit! It was a short train. All right. Here we go.
That's what she said.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, you have found us once again, episode 18 of the Living Water Boys podcast. I'm here with Reverend Big Al and McBrien, and me, Will the Thrill, your faithful producer. We have a great show for you tonight, and we hope you enjoy. Gentlemen, how are you doing tonight?
Fantastic. Number 18. Who's counting? Oh, that's right. We are. Bada bing. McBrien, what's going on up in A-Town?
Man, not a lot going on. Just enjoying this balmy January here, and just really excited to get into some more talk about sports and faith with you two.
That's right. Global warming, not just an alternative fact anymore. But let's get on to the topics. McBrien, what's on first for this evening's episode?
In our last episode, we provided ACC power rankings, and we got a lot of great feedback on it. Some of you agreed, some of you disagreed. Well, we are back this week with more power rankings, but it's not about ACC basketball. It is our top sporting events of the year. That's right. Think about a calendar year and think about the sporting events that excite you the most. We are going to top 5 today. Now, there is a lot to choose from. There's just a wide array of options, but we have selected the 5 best for each of us. So why don't you get us started?
Well, sure. It's coming up on the heels of our ACC basketball power rankings. I've got to say, for me, number 5, March Madness. That's right. Tournament time for college basketball. One and done for all these teams that are hoping to cut down the nets at the end of the tournament. So exciting. All the bracket watch, all the fantastic finishes, the way that you can cut around from game to game and watch the bracket come together. March Madness, my number 5 sporting event of the year. What about you, McBrien?
Wow, I'm pretty surprised that you have ranked it at 5. I would have definitely put it lower for you if I had to guess. For me, I've got another high-stakes, unpredictable sporting event, and that is WrestleMania. WrestleMania comes in as my number. Pretty similar to March Madness. You don't know what's going to happen. People are out there giving it their all, and at the end, the best man wins and hoists that title belt. So my number 5 annual sporting event, WrestleMania.
Will the Thrill, what about you?
My number 5, guys, happens to come on ESPN Classics. None other than World Championship Billiards. Nothing beats that felt on that table and them hitting those pool balls and going to town.
That's a good number 5. I've been there, when it's just a rainy day. And next thing you know, 2 hours have passed and you've been watching classic billiards.
1980s billiards. Nothing beats it.
Wow. Let's move on to number 4. I'll give my number 4. I had, remember, 5, WrestleMania. Number 4, the Slam Dunk Contest. I am a sucker for the Slam Dunk Contest on NBA All-Star Weekend. In the same way that the All-Star Game decides in baseball whether the NL or the AL has home field advantage, I think the Slam Dunk Contest should determine who has home court advantage for the NBA Finals. So you never know what you're going to get. Wild things happen, people dunking over cars, just spinning more degrees than have been spun before between takeoff and dunking. Slam Dunk Contest, my number 4, easy.
Great one. Coming up soon on February the 18th. You know, myself personally, especially our podcast dedicated to sports and faith, you know, there is nothing that is filled with hope more than, that's right, opening day. My number 4 is Major League Baseball opening day. You know, I'm a little disappointed that it's not just a single day anymore, that they've spread it out over a few days. But back when it was just a single day and all the teams took the field with hope springing eternal, hoping to make it to the World Series at the end of the year, hoping to be the ones, to be the last one celebrating on the field. Nothing replaces that hope that this is the year that your favorite team might turn it around. So Major League Baseball opening day, my number 4 sporting event of the year. Will the Thrill, where do you come in?
Number 4 is Daytona, the Daytona 500. I've been out to Daytona, not for the Daytona 500, but for the Coca-Cola Coke Zero 400, and that was an incredible place, and it is even cooler to watch it on TV. My number 4 is the Daytona 500.
A great one. The Super Bowl that we know always happens every February. All right, let's go to number 3.
Number 3, hey, speaking of the Daytona 500, I think that would be a great Living Water Boys listener meetup in the future, maybe 2018. Mark your calendars. Moving on to number 3, I've got one that I'm sure most listeners don't even know exists, and that is MLS Cup. You might be wondering, what is MLS? It's Major League Soccer, and the MLS Cup takes place in early December. This past year, Toronto FC hosted Seattle Sounders in what honestly was not a great game on the field, but the environment and the pageantry surrounding it really got me pumped up, and I love to look at MLS Cup now compared to MLS Cup 20 years ago. See how far the sport has come, and it gives me hope for the future. So my number 3 annual sporting event, MLS Cup.
Will the Thrill, how about you? What's number 3?
Number 3 is the World Series. The last game of the World Series. They're watching people celebrate for their team after they win, taking to the streets, having a big old time. Nothing like it.
You know, for me, I'm going to go with number 3, a tradition unlike any other. That's right. The Masters Invitational Golf Tournament played every year at Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia. Just to see the azaleas blooming, the players dealing with amen corner. Usually we got some low scores, always have, because it's at the same course, that first big major of the year, but so many guys who play well there every year. I cannot wait for the second weekend of April for that tournament to kick off yet again. We're moving through the list quite fast. All right, McBrien, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is the CAA basketball tournament. That's right, the Colonial Athletic Association basketball tournament. Why is that my number 2? Because for a long weekend every year, the first weekend in March, I have hope that the tribe of William and Mary will win their tournament and make it to the NCAA tournament big dance. Has it ever happened? No, never. But it is my number 2 because I'm filled with hope that weekend that the tribe might finally hear their name called on Selection Sunday.
Well, McBrien, coming from someone who's had himself quite a few dance parties in the upper deck of CAA tournament basketball games, I got a lot of respect for that selection. Will the Thrill, what's number 2 on your list of best sporting events of the year?
A repeat of your number 3, the Masters, is my number 2. I never miss it. I've never been. I'd love to go, but it is on when I'm sitting in class. Don't tell my mother. The Masters is on my phone playing with no volume. So that is my number 2, the best golf tournament known to the man.
Well, just wait. Once you're out of college, you can do like me and take it as a day of vacation. So get excited coming up. I'll tell you, my number 2, you can set your calendar by it because it happens the same day every year. That's right. The annual Coney Island hot dog eating contest. You know, I used to be a big fan of Kobayashi, but man, my heart is with America, and that's with Joey Chestnut. And talk about an idol. Anybody that can eat 65 to 70 hot dogs in 10 minutes is someone I want to pattern my standard of living after. And so just seeing what Joey Chestnut sacrifices to represent our country, to wave the flag proudly. I just love watching the Coney Island hot dog eating contest. It's been tight the past couple of years between Chestnut and Matt the Megatoad Stoney, but really love to see Chestnut come out on top every year by putting those dogs away left and right. Okay, down to the wire, Brian. What you got to say about the hot dogs?
That is an excellent selection. I think the best one that I've heard thus far. I grew up really living for that on the 4th of July. It didn't make my top 5. I remember being a Kobayashi fan. He inspired me when I ate hot dogs. I really liked the dark horse, Tim Janis, Eater X. But I got to say I'm filled with deep pride when I see Joey Chestnut doing his thing. And frankly, I think that we need his face on some of our currency.
Absolutely. Well, McBrien, we've reached number 1. I know there's a lot of suspense. Do you have any honorable mentions that you want to share before you break out your number 1 selection?
An honorable mention, I would have to say, is the first day of training camp. Call me a sucker, but when football ends in early February and does not start until late July or early August, the first whiff of that fresh cut grass and sweaty shoulder pads gets me excited. Easy honorable mention.
Great. And then how about, let's all hear it, your number 1 sporting event of the year?
Absolutely no question is the first Thursday of March Madness. I picked the Thursday instead of the Friday because that's our first taste of it, and it is a wildly beautiful spectacle to be able to tune in nonstop from about 12:15 to midnight. There is nothing that touches this day for me on my annual calendar.
Looking forward to it coming up. Well, the Thrill, same questions. Did you have any honorable mentions for us? Okay, I'll take that as a no. And we'll move on to your number 1 sporting event of 2017. Will the Thrill, what tops your list?
I don't know. I think he's speechless in searching for what that might be. But as he ponders, what's your number 1?
Well, I'm going to have to start by identifying a few honorable mentions. I know we had to limit the list to 5, but we'll just have to I know we wanted to limit the list to 5, but I just couldn't do that. So let me squeeze a few more in. First of all, any college football Saturday. College football, easily my favorite sport. The passion, the student excitement, and the play, the skill on the field. I just look forward to any Saturday where there's college football games. Also, another honorable mention would have to be, that's right, similar to you, Brian, hitting up NBA All-Star Weekend, I'm going to go with the celebrity game. Always have lots of fans, lots of favorite celebrities that are in the game. I just enjoy watching Kevin Hart take it to Peter Rosenberg and Ryan Russillo 1-on-2 as well as their other teammates who just stand around and watch Kevin Hart miss 3-pointers in that game. But I'm going to have to go. I mean, should we just quit? What the hell's going on?
No, keep going. The celebrity game, that is a shock.
Yeah. But in addition to those two honorable mention selections, I'm going to have to go with my number one as the WWE Royal Rumble, which happens to be this coming Sunday. I am so excited. This is by far my favorite sporting event of the entire year. Not only is it a wonderful pay-per-view that really sets the tone for WrestleMania in early April, but the fact that 30 sports entertainment competitors have an opportunity to win the right to battle for the WWE title is just, there's so much on the line. The guys are laying it all out there. You just never know who's going to come through the ropes. I cannot wait for Sunday night in the WWE Royal Rumble.
That is this Sunday night on the WWE Network. And I think one of the Living Water Boys is mildly excited about it.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and get involved with our preview for the Royal Rumble. There's going to be several great matches. Obviously, we can't hit them all. A couple things for you guys to look out for. First, we've got Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair taking on Bayley. Listen, Bayley can wave her peace sign fingers. She can give out all the hugs she wants, but she needs to give them out before Sunday because Charlotte Flair is the pay-per-view queen, and this match will be a no contest within a couple of minutes. Next big match, we got Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. No disqualification match with Chris Jericho suspended above the ring, and I think that's going to make the difference. I expect Roman Reigns to come out on top, dethroning Kevin Owens and claiming the Universal title. And then, of course, most of all, what everyone's looking forward to is the Royal Rumble match itself. 30 competitors. We don't even know who's going to be in there. I expect to see Kurt Angle making an appearance. We're always interested to see if Kenny Omega has agreed to join the WWE and will be competing. I think things we do know, Goldberg's going to be there. Brock Lesnar's going to be there. Undertaker's going to be there. A lot of star power.
Is Goldberg the guy from Mighty Ducks?
I expect Braun Strowman to set the record for number of eliminations. But in the end, I don't expect him to win. Who I'm looking for is the architect himself, Seth Rollins, to come out on top. Not sure if he's going to be an entrant or not, but I certainly expect him to weasel his way into one of the last positions of the Royal Rumble, one of the last entrants, so he can hang around at the end and be victorious. I expect Seth Rollins to come out on top Sunday night.
So could you just explain again briefly, maybe in 15 seconds, what the Rumble is? Is it like a bracket? Is it all for one? What does this look like?
Absolutely. It's a 30-man battle royal. And let me explain that to you. 2 entrants begin in the ring. Every 2 minutes, another entrant enters the ring. You don't know who's coming. You don't know the order. The entrants are lined up, given the luck of the draw. Obviously, coming out number 1, not really to your advantage. Coming out number 30, incredibly advantageous. That being said, you always have stories like Shawn Michaels coming out number 1 and lasting until the end in 1995 to claim the Royal Rumble title. So yes, Battle Royale, that means everybody's in the ring at once, and you have to be eliminated, you have to be thrown over the top rope of the ring and have both feet hit the floor. Now that's very important because often competitors will be thrown over the top of the ring, but only one foot will hit the floor and they will slide back in. They are not eliminated for the Royal Rumble in those circumstances. So lots of things to keep your eyes on. There'll be a lot of action. Oh, man, it is one exciting night of sports entertainment. I cannot wait for Sunday night's big event.
Yes, I noticed you didn't call these competitors athletes. What's with your terminology here?
Entrants? Well, I just use the term entrants because that's the order that they'll be coming into the Rumble. I really don't understand how anyone could argue they're not athletes. I mean, they have just incredible physiques. I mean, they're just the tone, the sculpt of the muscles, the pectoral definition, just really hard to get away from them being anything but athletes. That's, for sure. I mean, the amount of steroids that they take, only athletes do things like that, like PEDs. But yes, these are absolutely athletes. Cannot wait to see them in action on Sunday night.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot one on the WWE Network, Sunday, January 29th. It's at 8 o'clock. There's a 2-hour pre-show, and I heard there's a pre-show to the pre-show. So there's a lot of opportunity to dive in to the Royal Rumble.
Absolutely. And, of course, the pre-show, not just discussion and preview, will also include a couple of the first matches for the Royal Rumble. Oh, going to be a wonderful evening in professional wrestling.
Awesome. Well, here at the Living Water Boys, we have fabulous sponsors each week, and this week is no exception. So we're going to run our sponsor clip right about now.
Well, hey, guys, it's the Reverend Big Al here, and I just want to give you 2 cents about one of the hottest new podcasts that hit in 2016. That's right. It's from some guys we know really well, and it's called The Living Water Boys. It's hot takes on sports and church life. I mean, can you imagine 2 topics that go together better than sports and church life? I mean, this is like the best thing since peanut butter and jelly figured out they went well together on a sandwich. That's right, sports and church life together, one podcast. Listen, these guys are filled with hot takes on all things related to sports and church life, and you need to give them a listen. So I want you to pause this podcast right now and go look up The Living Water Boys on iTunes or SoundCloud so that you can subscribe and listen to these guys. They are some of the hottest takes on the market, and you just got to get a listen. They're always filled with great predictions related to sports and also wise counsel as it relates to church life. Listen, you've got to get a listen to Mick Bryan and the Reverend Big Al on The Living Water Boys. That's right. Let me say it again. The Living Water Boys, a hot new podcast coming in to your ears as soon as you subscribe to iTunes or SoundCloud. Thanks for listening. Again, this was Reverend Big Al of The Living Water Boys bringing you this wonderful sponsor.
As always, just hard-hitting sponsorship. That's excellent. That's a podcast that I think you guys should check out. I would listen to the Reverend Big Al's advice there and look up the Living Water Boys podcast.
I've listened to a few episodes, and I can honestly say I'm hooked.
I've heard that that's what the Living Water Boys does. When you listen to a few episodes, you are hooked. People love the sports talk, but people also love when we talk about the life of faith. And we have a great discussion for you now. And it's stemmed from what Will has on the horizon. What's going on that you have in the near future?
What I have in the near future happens to be the annual youth-wide ski retreat. I say it again, the annual youth-wide ski retreat. A weekend full of nothing but ski injuries and ski-related problems. But I digress. It is a fun time had by all. What are y'all's opinions on the annual ski retreat?
Mick Bryan, I know you've done some of these in the past. What are your thoughts?
No. That's my opinion in one word. No. Honestly, I just don't think it's worth it. So much planning goes into ski sizes and waivers and how to get the kids from point A to point B, that I think the things that really matter, such as fellowship, bonding, and growth, really come secondary to all the logistics that come with skiing and just the whole getaway aspect. So I attended, several in my life, really awesome times. But at this moment, I would say I am not a fan of them. I planned one and executed one last year. I was pretty exhausted after it, and I am not doing one this year.
I'm going to have to agree with you, Big Brian. I'll tell you, from my youth minister's perspective, the challenge I have with ski retreats in general is they typically offer the minister the least amount of time towards any sort of Bible study or retreat content directed at a student's spiritual formation. And at the same time, they typically are the most expensive weekends you can do during the year. Now, that being said, I know that ski retreats have long been a staple of youth ministry, long been something that churches have turned to as a way to engage with students during the winter. I appreciate that energy. But in my experience, it's just been a difficult thing to make it as much of a meaningful weekend as some other retreats, which allow a little bit more time for less recreation and more worship and study and reflection. That being said, I've been kind of caught personally. Last year, I tried a winter mountain weekend where we did a normal retreat where we arrive, have plenty of time in our cabin and plenty of group activities together, but also had time to do a couple hours of skiing or snow tubing during the day so that it didn't monopolize the whole weekend, but it still gave students an opportunity to enjoy some of the mountain lifestyle that you get at some of these ski trips. That being said, I found that that was absolutely a fail. Students that wanted to ski or snowboard were disappointed with the lack of opportunity they had to do so. At the same time, students who weren't interested in skiing or snowboarding, for the most part, seemed to choose not to attend the retreat because they seemed to think it was a ski trip. So I found that where I was trying to do the best I could to accommodate everybody, I ended up failing at that and just offering something that didn't appeal to most of our youth. Will, do you have any feedback?
So I've gone on a few ski retreats in my lifetime, and all through my career as a youth, and not one have I ever skied. I'm just horrible at skiing. I can't stay on my feet. I fall all the time, but that's no big deal. I stick to the bunny slopes if I'm going to ski, but still, I've always had mixed feelings about ski retreats. I have fun on them. I always had fun. We had time to do different stuff, but if you weren't a skier, you just don't have much to do but sit in the cabin, and that's I guess that's my 2 cents on them. I'm not totally against them, but then again, I'm not totally for them.
Well, that's the Will of Thrill we know and love, sitting on that fence and afraid to take a stand. McBrien, any further comments?
Yes, I like that you offered an alternative. And this year, what I've planned is a ski weekend alternative. And we're having a local youth weekend. It's really hard today to ask high schoolers to give up an entire weekend with AP everything, multiple sports teams, a social life. Asking for a Friday night through a Sunday evening is a bigger ask today than it was when I was in high school. So I've planned a local retreat. It'll be from about 10 through dinner time on Saturday, and then normal morning through mid-afternoon on Sunday. And it'll include some fellowship, some structured study, but also paintball and good lunch and things like that.
Well, my question for you, McBrien, I know I agree, and I see the same challenges. It's hard to get much time. It's hard to get on a teenager's calendar these days. Is that the advantage of something like a ski trip, that a student who is busy with lots of sports teams and academic requirements, et cetera, would be willing to put all those things aside for an opportunity to go skiing with their youth group?
To simply answer your question, yes. However, personally, I have found it better to go to a structured and scheduled retreat where I'm not in charge. Then that gives me the time to invest, because time away is irreplaceable. That's something that can't be measured. However, on a ski trip, you have to be on so much as a logistical coordinator that you can't do as much as you can if you go to something that's programmed where the hardest thing is driving to and from. Maybe I am just a poor trip planner.
Maybe, or maybe you need to involve more of your lay leadership to help make such events happen. But I'll tell you my 2 cents, which is that one thing I wish we could have pulled off in my particular context for this year, but did not, but maybe will still stay on the radar for the future, which is that my thought is, for the most part, students who really desire to have a ski trip are probably students who really enjoy skiing, which means they're probably students who enjoy that more than once a year, which means they're probably students who do it with their families in addition to with their youth groups. So my thought is a ski weekend is an opportunity to do a family retreat within the church. And that's something that I think could be a really neat thing for a lot of families to book their own, to arrange it so they're going the same weekend, and maybe even look into some different packages, but allow families to book their own lodging, get themselves up there together. It really takes a lot of the logistics off of the staff minister's plate, but allows families to customize what fits their schedule. Do they want to maybe take a day off and go for a couple of extra days of skiing to be up there? But I think if they all were to do that together, you could have a neat opportunity to have some discipleship with the families, building those friendships together. I mean, one of the beautiful things about church is these families come sometimes from all over in a certain area. The students go to different schools. The parents obviously live in different neighborhoods or work in different places, don't see each other all the time. And I could see this family-style ski trip as a great way to build some community among some of these families. And in that setting, I would not feel as bad about the cost of the trip or maybe the lack of time to devote to some of the spiritual formation aspects because of the community building that would occur.
That's good. Listen up next winter to hear how our plans might have developed and progressed towards answering the question, to ski or not to ski.
Well, it is that time of year, and as always, that is the question. Well, before we sign off, we want to continue our tradition of hitting up Will the Thrill and getting any of his thoughts from his Podcast 101 course he's been taking down there at the college. Will, what's been going on in Podcasting 101 recently?
Today in podcasting class, we learned some very valuable things. How to really accentuate our broadcast voice, our radio voice. We learned how to do that. We learned about natural sounds and nat pops, which is just going out and get some natural sound. We just learned how to be perfect little podcasters, and I hope to bring those perfect little podcasting skills right here to the one and only best podcast in the world, the Living Water Boys.
Well, amen. We look forward to hearing from them. And as always, to any of our listeners, if you want to support the Living Water Boys, one way to do so is paying for Will the Thrill's Podcast 101 course. So you can DM us. As always, our DMs are open on Twitter at the Living Water Boys and get some details on that. Well, fellas, we're about out of time for the week. Any final comments as we close out the show?
Not from me.
Well, I must confess to the Living Water Boys and to all of our listeners that I'm having trouble sleeping because I'm going to see the Reverend Big Al on Sunday. Yes, I am counting down the sleeps until Sunday the 29th. He is making the trek for my ordination service after party. And the service. He'll be there for the service too.
Absolutely. And McBrien, let us say we're excited that next time we get together, we'll be able to call you the Reverend McBrien. It's a fitting title. And we do hope that Sunday is filled with grace and peace and blessings on you as you experience the Holy Spirit's call on your life in service of vocational ministry. So we look forward to being with you on Sunday and celebrating with you, but more so we look forward to you feeling that connection and that sense of call that comes with that moment.
Well, then for the last time, this is McBrien saying peace out.
That's right. And as always, this has been the Reverend Big Al, and for Will the Thrill, our faithful producer, this has been another episode of The Living Water Boys. As always, you can find us on Twitter at The Living Water Boys, and you can reach us by email, livingwaterboys@gmail.com. We always love to hear from you. You can always find us with the hashtag AskLWB, and we'll talk at you soon. Thanks for listening.